mean, has there been any discussions with the folks in Rock Hill?
Well, first, we're at the first steps right here to see what the board's, idea is on it. If the board is something agreeable, yes, this is something good, we have a great location. Like I said, it's gonna depend on vendor participation and having someone close by in Rock Hill. I know from seeing other vendors and other farmers or craftspeople who are out there at the markets, if they could be at one on Friday, they're gonna be there. And if there's one on Saturday that they can get into, they're gonna be on that one, and they're gonna give up their Sunday, they're gonna have a market on it. The season is very short.
What day of the week do you have yours done, and what department you have?
Lumberland is on Sundays. They have Barryville, which is on Saturday.
Right.
It's outside the Sullivan County Farmers Market Association, and it does great out there.
Yeah.
Why not have a lot of vendors kind of giving you the green light? In other words, should this proposal be approved, that they would?
The concern that everybody has is cost. The Sullivan County Farmers Market, they charge a premium fee for it. And what happens is when you're bringing producers in, a lot of the market depends on what's being, what crops are being successful for the year, and also two, they need a diversity of items that they're gonna bring to the table, so there's gonna be competition. And the biggest fear, it's a rain or shine event. So if we're having a monsoon, nobody's gonna come out. And some markets, through the association, can be charging $75 per day for every weekend, in addition to having to pay a deposit fee. So these fees, when you look at the cost for them, they're saying how much they have to actually be able to sell to pay for their spot could be significant. And in speaking with other vendors, what I see is happening is, what is the cost going to be associated with this? And when we kicked off Lumberland, the only cost that I had asked that be considered was everybody chip in, even if it was $5, to pay for the advertising costs. So we were able to work out through the River Reporter a discount where they supported us, by giving us a larger, space, free color and stuff. And it was a very minimal amount. So all I'm looking is if there's enough vendor participation to cover the cost of the advertisement. And if enough vendor participation, we want to get more advertisement out there to go maybe to a second paper, or signage, that's all it is. It's not about making any money, and it's only about promoting the market, and that's it.
So then I'm confused by something. Is this through the Sullivan County Farmers Market Association?
No.
So this is just private,
This
whoever wants to come free for all?
Well, basically, but there was gonna be requirements as to who would be available, because everybody operates under the ag markets law. They would have to be within their definition and based on the items that they are selling. So if you're familiar with the ag markets law, you have your ones that are operating maybe under a home food processor's license, which wouldn't be subject to health department, and then they have all these requirements for packaging, labeling, and the like.
And who's overseeing that? The town?
This would not be the town, it would be the responsibility of everybody who would be participating to show that they have the necessary registrations. That would have to be something to decide on. It'd be a committee that just oversees that everybody turned in their necessary registration. But some parties who are participating may not have to be registered because they are operating where under, any farmer can start a farm stand without having any regulation, so long as they only sell certain items, and so long as it's only in bulk packaging, and if it bulk and not in packaging, so they would not have to be registered with the state. So if you're familiar with it, there's certain items that automatically are not, but depending on packaging versus bulk, then they would have to satisfy the requirements, but don't necessarily have to register. And then second, then depending on the additional items that a producer may want to incorporate other than produce, be it maybe fresh jams or preserves, they all require registration through the state. And then you have other items, you may want to go to chutneys, pickling items, they all now have to go through the health department. So ag markets is specific as to what is permitted under ag markets and what is not, which would require health department approval.
So I have a couple of other concerns.
Sure.
One, I'm not clear on where you're gonna hold this. It says it directly across the meeting in front of the main town hall entrance. Isn't that, that's not our property?
I wasn't sure, I just drew something out there because what happens is if you've had the opportunity to visit a farmer's
I had a
market.
brief conversation with Miles McPhee, who was the property manager here, and he said he wouldn't have a problem with it unless the only requirement would be, insurance.
Yeah, that's fine. A lot of markets also require the insurance on that.
Or unless you filled up the whole.
Then here's my
So
other
who's in
concern.
charge?
Why do we
Well,
need to
right,
pay?
if there's nobody in charge and everybody's just coming and doing what they wanna do, and it's not through the Sullivan County Farm Market, Association, who's actually going to give us the insurance, the liability insurance and the indemnity insurance?
Right now, we're just kicking the can, just to even see if it's a thought that the board may be agreeable to. So this is the beginning discussion to see what questions you may have. Insurance is obviously one. So, you know, we would need to look into what was gonna be necessary, you know, any minimum amounts, and who would be the named parties on the insurance. So these are the things that I was hoping we would have the opportunity to discuss, what the concerns are, so that we can, you know, offer you proof and what the steps were gonna be necessary.
So as a general concept, I'm not opposed to having a farmer's market here, but there are a number of questions that I think would need to be answered.
Yeah, that's fine, that's why I was hoping for the opportunity, you know, to see what kind of response, you know, what the town may require and stuff, and this is just the first step, so thank you.
I think it's a great idea also, I don't know what
Yeah,
to.
there are issues though with, you know, who's in charge, who's gonna, you know, provide the
Well,
insurance to the town, because we need to
But
make
what,
sure
as
that-
she said,
This is
I
the-
agree with
Yeah.
you, but as she said, this is just to seeing if there's even an interest. If there's no interest, then that's the end of it, but there is an interest apparently, and so let's see what happens.
In Monticello on
What?
Fridays?
They have a farmer's, I don't know what.
On
Yeah, there's
Mondays.
one
Mondays.
across from the government center. They do have something at the government center, right?
Yeah.
Neighborhood facility.
Yeah.
That's on Mondays,
No, it's
that's on Fridays?
It's on Friday. I'm in court, so I see it
Oh,
when I'm in
okay.
court, so it's gotta be Fridays.
Okay. Are you aware of that, Martha, that there's already a farmer's market on
I have
Fridays?
newspaper clippings, cause I follow all the other markets and how they're doing and stuff like that, and when the Times Herald Record had reported on it, did say Monday, so the one that I have.
Okay, so there's another one in the town of Thompson on Fridays that you may want to maybe even just hook up with and continue to do the same one. Why,
Well, they take food
Well,
stamps
that
at
one
the
is not on a weekly basis, though, that is only going to be the days that they release the vouchers, and that's what the article had also mentioned, it correlates from the date that the vouchers are released, so.
My question is, does the board wanna go further and seek this out, or is there an interest?
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to hear more about this, yeah.
yeah, I think there's a lot more work to do,
So
before it gets
if you wanna
finalized.
take the time, write down some questions you may have and,
Sure.
present it to me and stuff, and I can research the areas, reach out to other, markets and stuff, especially whoever's running the Rock Hill Market, to,
Linda gets it.
yep, and get their response and, help guide us since they've been successful for the last couple of years. I mean, they would be a great example on, and showing us the other things that we may have not both discussed or considered at this time, so that would be a great idea.
Very good. Thank you.
You will.
Assessor interviews and appointment. The town board and everyone has a copy of, the draft that I wrote up, regarding our meeting on November 13th with the interviews of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, assessor candidates, and they were all very good. Billy Reber was included in the, interview process with us along with Nora.
Sharon Jankowitz was not.
You were on vacation, I guess? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was asked to do the advertising, and then I was asked to schedule the dates for the interviews. I sent out emails to all the town board members, and then the next thing I know, you scheduled a meeting without including me. So I was a little bit offended by that. For the record, I wasn't included.
You've been offended a lot by us, so.
I have been, and it doesn't seem to be changing any.
All right.
It's not the right way to conduct business, though.
Well,
I am a
think
member of this town
Supervisor
board.
Elect sent me an email saying he would like to have it on Wednesday the 13th, and that's when I sent the email out, and everyone else was
Did you
there.
inform him that I was on vacation?
I didn't even know you were on vacation, so.
Well, I mentioned it at the last meeting, and I also mentioned
I'll
it
pay
in the email
attention
that
to
I
you
was
most of the time
sending around to
anyway.
everybody, that I was trying to schedule for.
Well, anyhow, you weren't here.
Yeah, I think it's important to get the interviews conducted,
Right.
not that everybody participate, but we're sorry you couldn't be there.
Well,
But I
just
think we
just so
need
you all
to
know,
go
I'm still a
forward.
board member until December 31st.
Right, we realize that.
Thank
We
you.
could tell by tonight. We had the interviews, we selected, a candidate who chose not to take the position. So we're back to square one, And then I also spoke with our deputy assessor, deputy clerk, today, and she is interested. So, whatever you wanna do, we can do. Make sure Sharon's here when we do it. Anybody suggestions? And Billy, what would you like to do? You and John? Bill? What? When, you wanna do it together, or you wanna do it individually, or?
It really doesn't matter. I don't know if you've gone through that process before with her.
We did, we selected her before.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to have a conversation with her, just because I would,
Yeah, no,
so.
you should. It's a 6-year appointment, you should be really involved with it.
So, I mean, whatever the board's pleasure, if you wanna just, I mean, have any other candidates come to the forefront?
Well, we closed the application deadline as of October 31st according to the advertising, so since then, I mean, nobody else, we took down the posting.
We still have the other applicants, I mean, there was still somebody there that we all liked as well.
Yeah,
too.
there was a second person there that he's an appraiser, not an assessor, and that was the difference.
Why don't we set up an interview with Angel, and then just discuss an appointment, you know, with the people we've already interviewed.
Could we do it maybe before the December 3rd meeting, or is that too far?
You know, I'll accommodate any, you know, listen, you're accommodating me, I'll have, any day's fine.
What's good for everybody here then?
Oh, that would be very nice, Peter, thank you.
What about John?
Since I missed all the other interviews.
John, you're better in the evening, right? Or you're better late afternoon, evening?
Yes.
Tell me. Sharon, when are you available?
I'm available anytime the board can meet. I'm not on vacation.
I'm going on vacation, so but you can do them without me.
Well, if we did it the 3rd, you wouldn't be here, right?
No,
Yeah.
that's right, you can do them.
Why don't you do it on 4:00 in the afternoon? Does that work for everybody?
4 PM when?
I don't care.
Yeah, 4's good.
Next week's Thanksgiving, so
I'm okay with Thanksgiving.
Tuesday,
We'll do them on Thursday, Thanksgiving Day, 4 o'clock.
how about Tuesday at 4:00?
Tuesday, of course.
What's that date?
Tuesday, 26th at 4:00. Does that work
Is
for
that
everybody?
good for everybody?
4 o'clock.
And who are we interviewing, just Angela or some
I
of the
won't be
others
there.
again?
You won't be here?
I can't be there, no.
Richard can't be here either.
But you, again, you could do that
I won't
without
be
me as
here
well.
either.
You can meet without me, I've already interviewed Angela.
Who we have?
It'd be nice to have a consensus of the board though after the interviews, which way we go.
When will you be here, Rich? You going away?
No, I have another commitment at that
Okay.
hour.
Okay. What's a better time? Any other time during that day?
Earlier that day, or,
How about this week?
actually, I could do it at 5.
On the 26th?
Yeah,
Good by me.
5, okay?
5 on the 26th?
5? Scott?
Yep, yep.
Very good. We're going to recess this meeting until the 26th at 5 PM. You remember that at the end? We have a couple resolutions. One is the a tax cert case. And this is Alex's Berneret from 400,000 to 365. Well, what's your pleasure?
This is Michael's one.
Yeah, Michael and Nora worked this one out.
yeah, I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
The next one is Natalie
This
Apicella.
one you gotta table.
Apicella?
Yeah.
Make a motion to table, Epicella.
Second.
Not ready yet.
And we have another one. Verizon New York. Boy, this one I don't like. What's your pleasure on this one?
Well, where is this building?
I think it's on St. John Street.
It's the telephone.
Yeah.
Oh, the old telephone
Telephone
company.
company.
Telephone
right?
business, the building that has,
significantly outdated, infrastructure in there, can't be used for the, by the telephone company. They're dismissing, they have 1 year, they brought this year, they're basically essentially dismissing this, and then we're structuring it so it gets down to its full market value.
It's a 3-year.
3 years. It's probably worth about, the ultimate amount is probably what it's worth now, because it's not unusable. That's what Nora's, determination was, so we were able to force them to structure it so it doesn't affect us immediately, and that we could plan for the plan for it down the road, is bring it down incrementally.
So it's vacant right now, they're not using it at all?
It's vacant, absolutely vacant. Vacant, and basically the cost to remediate or to, they can't use it because all the material in there is just completely outdated and unusable.
But it's still maintained, I mean, they still maintain the grounds.
It's a vacant building, yeah.
You recommend,
Yeah, Nora and I
recommend.
recommended it, yeah.
What's your pleasure? The 3-year settlement.
I move we approve.
Yeah, second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have some other new resolutions, Marilee,
Yes, they were on the table in front of you.
go ahead, what's the first one?
One is for the tentative assessment hearings.
Oh, yeah, this is where we come in and sit here for a half hour and nobody shows up. What date?
Whatever the board, I mean, Michael might have a recommendation, I'm not sure
Yeah,
which you.
I know that we have, other public hearings, the next board meeting, which is the 3rd, I believe, we have a joint public hearing with the village, so.
Why don't we have that between 7 and 7:30?
Have what?
This, because
Yeah,
that
I was
joint
gonna say, let's do it
annexation meeting is gonna
beforehand.
take 15 minutes, and then we got another half hour to kill.
That,
Well,
yeah.
6:45 is our joint meeting though with the Village of
That'll
Monticello.
take 15 minutes.
I don't wanna do something inside the time, I don't know how long that meeting's gonna take with the village. If you wanna do it at 6 o'clock beforehand, cause this should take no
Why
time.
don't we do it at 6:30?
What if there's people and what if something shows up and it starts running into the time of the next
No
meeting?
one's ever showed up, one person
I
in how
understand.
many years?
But
10 years
you
that
gotta,
I've been-
Yeah.
I assume that someone will show up, or there'll be a mass of people that show up.
So we'll table it or postpone it,
No,
and
we
then
can't
we'll have
postpone
the,
it, cause we gotta get to the local law to
Well, no.
sewer rates.
we'll have the annexation, and after the annexation, we'll finish it.
What's wrong with 6 o'clock?
Yeah, what's wrong with 6
I
o'clock?
I'm not gonna be here anyway, that's fine.
45 minutes should be more than enough time.
December
How
3rd,
many
right?
people show up?
I'll make a motion
That's
that we
my
do it
suggestion.
December 3rd at
That's my
6 p.m.
suggestion.
December 3rd, 6 p.m.
Second.
Actually, my suggestion earlier was 3:30 the day before, wasn't it, Marilyn?
Should Epicella be on the next meeting?
Yes, leave it on for the next meeting.
And then the next thing that.
I'm just waiting for confirmation that it's resolved and cancel this.
The second thing everyone should have in front of them is the proposed local law to set the sewer rates
Right,
for the new year.
I saw that in here somewhere. And what day you wanna schedule that for?
That would be on December 3rd at 7:30.
.30, public hearing,
Yes.
set dates for sewer rates. Need a motion, please, you can advertise, right? I need a motion that we set date for December 3rd at 7:30 PM to set the, public hearing, set the sewer rates.
So moved.
Motion second, discussion, all in favor? What else, Marley?
I think that's it. We
That
have the
was it?
bills. There's no budget transfers, I don't think.
Okay, we got bills over 1250, water and sewer, 2 portable refrigerated glacier samplers, complete with sample bottles, tubing. What's all that, Bill?
This is mandated by the health department for sampling the sewers.
Oh,
We had samplers for years and they're wore out, and when we got inspected, they wrote us up for it last year and they wrote us up again this year. And because of the cost, I was dragging my feet, but they're getting
Okay,
they're threatening us, so,
you have in your budget?
we do have it in the budget, it'll be shared by several districts, because these are, portable, they load in the back of the truck, and you can set them at each plant when you need them.
Need a motion that we pay
Make a motion to pay.
$9,246 for this.
That's for two, actually two samples, because what you have to do is you have to sample what's coming in and what's leaving to
Oh,
do
okay.
your comparison, that's
Yep,
why.
says two portable.
And
Motion.
one question, is it split equally between the 4 districts, or is it
No,
percentage wise based
we
on?
have formulas, but what we're gonna do with this situation is, a plant like Kymetia, I have to do this once a week. A plant like Melody Lake, I only do it once a month. So we'll figure out how many times we use it a year, and then we'll divide that into the cost. And like Sacket Lake is twice a month, Kymetia's 4 times a month, Melody's once a month, Dillon Farms is only once a month, so we'll just figure it out that way, figure out how many samples times we have to use it, and then they'll each pay their proportional share.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
The next one is Casco Associates, 100 horsepower vertical motor with coupling, hub, and,
This is actually the Harris pump station.
Oh.
One of the motors went bad on us. We've had it rebuilt 3 times over the years, so they recommend not to rebuild it again. But I'm asking now, but it'll actually, by the time it's shipped and everything, it'll come out of the 2014 budget.
what's your pleasure?
It's a 6 to 8 week delivery.
$5,775.
Move we pay it.
Motion by Sharon, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Another one, Empire State Electric Motors, $1,900 for repair aerator unit, disassemble, clean and check, and install new motor.
Yeah, that was for the Sacket Lake sewer treatment plant.
What's your pleasure?
Move we approve.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any budget transfer, Gary? None. Bills over till we did that. Okay, old business?
Yeah, 2 things.
Sure.
One, the planning board, I was told that the planning board was gonna take up the typesetting changes proposed by Toby at the last planning board meeting, and I understand that they didn't discuss it.
No.
Do we know what the holdup is?
I think we're gonna discuss that with Billy. I guess we're gonna have to pass a local law just to fix the typesetting. We're gonna put it in the actual code as well, so the code takes precedence over any way they may interpret the tables. Kinda like when you write a check.
Yeah,
What's in
no, I
writing is
get that,
better.
but the planning board was supposed to give us their recommendations so that this town board could do some actions, and I'm just wondering what the holdup at the planning
That's a
board is.
great question.
So how do we address that?
I'll
If we,
talk to them again.
we sent it to the planning board,
I'll
so
talk
they
to them
should be
again.
addressing
They
this.
had no comment at this time, they said. I don't know how often, how they really looked at it, to be honest with you, so.
I mean, they've had it for almost 2 months,
Almost 2
maybe,
months.
almost 2 months at this point.
I'll discuss it again.
Scott will look at it and get back to us at the next meeting.
All right.
Can I say something? Most of her changes are pretty mechanical, it's just drawing lines on the schedules and stuff like that, which is nothing the planning board, the town board ever had anything to do with. Just Dick take a look at it, or one of his guys take a look at it.
Do we need a local law for it, just to clean it up? Basically, it's just gonna open it up so you know that it pertains to each thing in that. That's the way I read it. So that's why I don't understand what
The way those
holdup is.
things work, when you look at those charts anyway, if there's blank spaces, it's the number that's above.
But people are interpreting it as if there's blank spaces all the way across, then there's no restrictions.
Well, that's
the way they interpret it, but
Interpretation.
Well, that's the thing.
Huh?
It's,
It's just that's an improper interpretation of that.
but it's still, it can be open to an interpretation, so
But our
if we keep
boards
it
have never
open,
interpreted it that way.
No, it's always
What's
the
that?
number above.
They've always used the number above.
just an idea. I see what they're saying, but, you know, it's
oh, I
up to
get their
these guys.
point. I
Yeah.
get their point. And I guess there's no big deal if we recopy the number in the box, but this is the way it's generally done, at least in
always
the
been
2
done that way.
communities I've worked in.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, just go to the top number and
Okay, and then the second thing I had was the building department fees that you passed at the last meeting, without any discussion. There was actually, it was just passed through without public input, no discussion, it wasn't part of the agenda packet, so nobody really had an opportunity to comment on it, and I had not had an opportunity to look at it, prior to the meeting, but there were a couple of comments that I have on it, and one of those comments is the permit fees for residential properties. we had it capped at $2,500, and now we've removed that cap. So we're kind of discouraging residential growth by not having a cap. It's one thing you want to increase the cap to have a no cap. I think that was a little hasty on the part of the board to go ahead and do that with no cap. And then when you look down at the commercial, there's a cap on commercial. Actually, it doesn't even address whether or not there's a cap on commercial. And then the demolition fees for residential, we're eliminating that altogether, which I understand the reason why. We want people to demolish their buildings and clean them up, and that's fine. But we're doing the same thing with commercial. Why would we eliminate the $100 fee for a demolition on a commercial property? Yes, we want them to clean it up, but you know, it's commercial property as opposed to residential. And then building without a permit.
Sharon, weren't you here at that meeting?
And I asked you not to do this. I asked you to table it so I had an opportunity to look at it.
Well,
Yes,
this
I was at
sent
that
out-
meeting.
This was sent out a couple weeks before, it was sent to everybody on planning board, it was sent to everybody on the ZBA for comments, and now I'm starting to get comments.
Well, you
This
know
was
what?
not done to do
Right.
anything to increase revenue, this is simply, nobody wants increased fees for anything. But we do need to get in line
We're
with
getting in
everybody
line
around
with
us.
the rest
All
of
of
the
our
communities.
costs have gone up. One of the biggest things is the building without a permit. It's a $50 fine if you get caught. That's why nobody's doing it.
That's
It's
only
the
one
same
thing on
reason
there.
that they have points and fines and increased insurance costs when you get caught speeding. People don't speed because of that. If we have some sort of deterrent in there, that's what that's for. It's not to punish anybody, it's not to look for revenue.
Those aren't the comments I'm making though, Scott.
Well,
I
give me one
understand-
and,
I
give me
understand
one
that.
at a time and we can address it, cause this was not something we came up out of the air. We talked to all the other departments, we worked with Logan, we worked with Paula.
I looked back
This
at my
was-
emails. It was emailed to me 2 days prior. And believe it or not, there was an election day in
Oh.
between.
It was
So-
out before that, but, okay.
Well, I got it 2 days prior.
Okay.
Maybe you gave it to everybody else a little earlier, I don't know. But I had it 2 days prior, and unfortunately, I asked this board not to act on it, to let me have an opportunity to review it. I'm not sure if anybody else on the board had the opportunity to review it, but I know I stated that I did not. So there were a number of other things. The variance fees. We're increasing it to $100 for a variance. Why?
It's the same thing that's
But we
everywhere.
want to encourage residential properties to seek the variances. We don't want to discourage them from asking for a variance.
It's not. It's been the same thing for over 20 years, and that's what all the other municipalities around us charge.
Okay.
We're looking at $50 a person just for people to walk in the door to do that.
All right. So now I want to talk about the annual inspections for operating permits. Required
that-
annual inspections for places of assembly, institutions, hazardous material, stackable storage. So who's doing these inspections? That's number
That we're
one.
working on with McGoey's office.
Right, and that was recommended by McGoey's office as well.
Okay.
Right.
So who's doing these inspections? What's the requirement?
There.
What is the legal requirement for places of assembly institutions? What are we inspecting when we go there?
It's basically a fire inspection, we're mandated by the state.
Oh, okay, so we have a fire inspection fee, and now we have an additional annual inspection fee that we're gonna tack on top of that. So the fire inspection fee is how much?
$50 an hour.
And now we're doing $750 to $1,000 for an annual fee on top of the fire inspection. We're duplicating that, but it's the same fee. Okay, does this include schools, bars, restaurants, places of assembly, being churches, et cetera? I mean, what is the
something-
definition of,
This was
Places
something
of
that was
assembly or an
floated out
institution.
there. We're working on it with McGoey's office.
but you
Just like I
passed
said,
this
is-
already. If you're still working on it, why did we pass these fees?
The building department fees and fines is what we're looking at. The other thing we're still looking at, that's not as clear as that.
But it's on here.
Then I agree with you, but it's something we're working at. This is what everybody has to do with patient, or, sorry, the old occupation, has to do with safety of the public.
Okay,
A lot of these places are not looking, including a lot of the bungalows and where they congregate there.
my
We need
point-
to make sure
my
these things are
point
safe
is not
and
that
they're
we
up to
shouldn't
date.
be looking at this. My point is we should not be passing things
I
we
agree.
don't have a complete understanding
I should
of.
have done that separate.
Okay, we got the message. What else?
That's it. I don't
Okay.
think you got the message,
Need a
because you're not
motion?
doing anything about it.
I need a motion to recess this meeting until 26th at 6 o'clock. So we say,
Second.
5 o'clock. Is it 5 o'clock?
you change it to
5
6.
o'clock.
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
You
Yes.
want- Anybody make that?
I'll
motion?
move it.
Yes.
Well, I thought you moved it, I seconded it, okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.